Good morning, everybody. This is the Live Market Open and a special Brexit edition for Friday, June 24th. Okay, I guess you've already heard the big news. Those of you who followed me in my live blogging all night long or just woke up to the news. The British people have decided on an exit from the European Union in a vote that was 52% against 48% to remain. A big shocker for markets, not what everyone had expected. Okay, so good morning, everybody. We'll talk about these recent developments, how things turned out over the night, why we had a 1700 pip range in pound dollar, which is amazing. Talk about the various charts and levels. And then what's next? Okay, after the Brexit. Okay. So it's quite amazing. Of course, as always, your questions are more than welcome. You're welcome to ask them. If you cannot see the chat box alongside the screen, please go to the address here, tlk.io/fxread-forex-live-video. Yeah, I see your comment. UK will get the Brexit to get what it wants. Get up Germany's nose. I don't know if that will happen. There's so many uncertainties. One of them, for example, is the fate of David Cameron, the British Prime Minister. So, well, let's look at the chart, because this is not a chart you see every day. Okay, pound dollar, here you go. Currently at 136.30, which is around 400 pips above the lows, okay? But all in all, it's a fall of 8% at the moment. We already reached 150.17 at the beginning of the event, when things looked much differently, and then we had this total collapse, okay? So now let's look how things emerged. Maybe this will be useful for other big events, because you never know. These events are supposed to be rare, but with the S&P bomb last year and this one this year, which wasn't a surprise. I mean, the result was a surprise, but the referendum was not a surprise. Yeah, you love the volatility. Yeah, so as it happened, okay, so at 9 GMT last night on Thursday, I'm awake since then more or less, we had voting day polls. They showed a lead for Remain. Basically the same margin that the eventual win for Leave came out in the real results, okay? So it's 52% against 48, according to YouGov, according to Sky News. Now, we heard that Nigel Farage, leader of UKIP, sort of conceded defeat. It was later denied, but never mind. The Sun showed its front page, and it showed also sort of conceding defeat, okay? And at this moment, pound dollar flirted with 150, okay? But then we had the real results. So we had, first of all, I was looking, as I explained yesterday, those of you that came to the show or read my previews, you had to look at what was expected in every area. Every area reported, 382 areas in the UK, and some of them had a clear lean for Leave, and some of them for Remain. And we also had research by the University of Bristol, JP Morgan, and it was published by The Guardian, telling us what are the expected figures. Of course, nothing is 100% correct. But when Remain was expected to take a big victory in Newcastle, and it was very narrow, pound dollar already fell to 148. And then when Leave, which was expected to win in Sunderland, won big time, more than expected, we already had a crash to 143. Okay, at that time we also were expecting results from Wandsworth, but they came only much later. Anyway, we got more and more results from areas, smaller areas that were leaning for Leave, and for ones that were eyed, and everyone showed either a smaller than expected victory for Remain or a bigger than expected victory for Leave. It wasn't 100% across the board, okay? But each time we had a big dip to just under 140, then a big rise to 146, but then another collapse. For example, at some point we had the results from Scotland, okay? Scotland voted overwhelmingly for Remain. So did people in London, but most other areas in England and in Wales, they voted for Leave. And when the results from Scotland came in, Remain gained ground. The pound gained ground, but it was only temporary, because all in all, it wasn't better than expected. It was as expected. people expected the UK, the Remain campaign to win in Scotland. Okay, so you managed to close out your profit EU shorts. No problem with execution this morning. Yeah, I must say that I published a list of 41 brokers that got ready for the event, and in general markets, I mean, traders were awake in Europe, in London, all night. We did have good flow. We did have good liquidity. We had huge moves, but things were filled, and there were, again, during the night, I tweeted it out many times. Another, I mean, as expected victory for Remain in one place just provided another sell opportunity. So we had this kind of flow. Let's show the chart instead of talking in the air. Of course, the daily chart doesn't. What I showed you here is the daily chart. If we look, for instance, at the 15-minute chart, well, maybe that's not the best. Maybe also shows. No, I mean, look, you had those chances. A fall, a bounce, a fall, another bounce, and then a gradual fall. And now we have another bounce that maybe, well, all the results were out. But anyway, liquidity was better than expected. The movements were, I mean, moving clearly in one direction, but there were corrections. There were sort of opportunities to short the pound. Okay. Yeah. So when things became clear that when ITV, Sky News, and the BBC began declaring the results, we had even bigger falls. First below the 138.30, which was the cycle low. Then we reached the lowest level since 2009. This didn't last too long. We fell to 132.30. I think was the really bottom, and that's the lowest levels since 1985. Okay, 1985. I looked it up. What was the biggest hit at that time? It was Careless Whisper by Wham. So here's a picture for you of George Michael. That's a very long time ago. That's 31 years ago, okay? Below the post-crisis low of 2009, for me, that's very significant. All in all, 1,700 pip range in cable, okay? We always know there's more activity in cable than in euro-dollar, okay? The pound moves more. Pound-dollar makes, but not such moves. Now we have a recovery of some 400 pips from the lows, and it sort of just looks like a dead cat bounce on the charts. Okay, this is a huge move. So why did this happen? First of all, it was an asymmetric risk. Towards the release, towards the event, we had more polls showing Remain gaining ground, more people voting to stay. Okay. Initially, also we had, as expected result, this pushed pound dollar from around 147, 148 all the way to 150, and then we had the huge surprise, and this is the result: 1,700 pip range. Okay, that is something you really do not see every day. All right. Apart from the pound, let's look at dollar yen. We had an initial fall to 103. Okay, remember the yen is a safe haven currency, and then we had a fall to 98.82, a huge drop, and then a huge bounce. So let's look at the chart just to show you what happened with the yen. Okay, so this was the low right down here. Okay, yeah, and then we had a big bounce. I believe that the Bank of Japan intervened, and by instructions from the Ministry of Finance in Tokyo. We heard from them that FX conditions are very rough. Okay, also here we fell to the lowest levels since 2013. Not that extreme, but also a huge fall. Remember, during the publication, we were already at 106. So also here, it's a range of, around 800 pips in dollar yen. Also a very rare event. Then they had a press conference that they announced in the morning. Said conditions rough, but they had a press conference, but did not admit anything. Okay. Comment here: Bank of Japan don't like all the world playing into. Yeah, they do not like it. Nobody wants a strong currency, and the Bank of Japan always lets us know about that. Okay, so that was a huge reaction also there. That's Ariko Kuroda, the governor of the Bank of Japan, which looks worried. And this is Mario Draghi, the president of the ECB, the European Central Bank. I must say we had a sort of, as expected, result in euro dollar, sort of 40% the move. Okay. And the ECB already released a statement that Draghi does not intend to convene the Governing Council of the European Central Bank. They don't intend to move. Also, the Swiss National Bank, which doesn't like the currency to be stronger against the euro, also they said no comment. They said it very loudly. Also in euro dollar, we had a move to the upside. We crossed this 114.10 resistance line, proved to be a false break. We fell. The low is 109.10. Now we have a bounce back towards resistance at 110.70, alongside the bounce in cable that we're seeing in the last hour or so. Okay, euro dollar looks better, but again, look at this huge range. It's a range of 500 pips, a bit more in euro dollar. Last seen by Draghi in December, but still huge. And more or less, it's also a drop of nearly 3%. It's also an enormous fall. Okay, so also here, why is the euro falling? Not because it's not a safe haven currency anymore, and more importantly, it's a big blow to the European Union. We'll talk about the political implications a bit later. Commodity currencies also fell against the US dollar. The Canadian dollar proved to be the strongest. The Aussie dollar and the Kiwi looked a bit weaker, but all in all, they had sort of the peripheral move. So dollar CAD managed to top 130. Okay, we talked about this level yesterday and reached first resistance at 138. It didn't go too far, only 2% rise. Okay, usually a rarity in Forex as well. Aussie dollar fell a bit more. We were rejected at resistance at 76.40, fell all the way to 73 support. Okay, and now we're struggling with the next line of resistance, 73.75. All in all, a big fall in the Aussie. Currently, even the fall in the Aussie is bigger than the fall in the euro. Yeah, so it's quite huge as well. Nothing came out, not of Australia, not of any other countries. Okay, Kiwi dollar, more or less with the Aussie 3% drop. It already reached very high levels, almost touched 73. During the collapse, it dipped under 70, currently stabilizing between 70 and the next resistance line, a former double top of 70.50. Comment here, Indian Central Bank intervenes to rupee. Yeah, they provided more liquidity. We also heard talk from the Bank of Korea, rumors that the Bank of China will intervene. So far, yeah, as far as I know, only the Indian Central Bank made its move. Dollar Swiss, of course, jumped. The Swiss franc is also a safe haven currency. Used to be much safer, but we already know it's a big mess. 97.20 is the current level. 98 is resistance. We touched resistance, fell back down. We might have interventions here by the Swiss National Bank. Euro Swiss currently, well, it also had a big fall all the way to 106.20. Also here a range of 400 pips, quite rare with this pair that sort of moves only 10 pips a day or 20 or something like that. I suspect we might go higher from this level, 107.60. It's not accidental that we stopped here at the moment to rest. That was sort of a line in the sand for the Swiss National Bank, as you can see, back here at the end of 2015. So we had a big bounce, and now from here I believe we can go up, perhaps with some help from Thomas Jordan and his friends. Euro pound, as I mentioned, the euro didn't fall as much as the pound, so at some point we reached 83. Anyway, it's a rise of 5.67% at the time. We came up from a low of 76 to now above 80. Anyway, we reached huge levels. I would say 83.20 is resistance, high resistance, but watch out for 79.30 on the downside and 81.20 on the upside. Euro yen, wow, what a fall, 6% right here. Okay, that's because of the huge strengthening of the yen. I forgot to mention the percentage points on the yen. 3.3 dollar yen fell and euro dollar rose by around the same level. Anyway, it's 6% drop for euro yen. The low has been 109.27. Okay, currently 113.62. So we're still in much lower ground. Maybe if we zoom out a bit, That's a long time. That's since 2013 also here. And now perhaps one of the best pairs, the Dragon, Gepi, Pound, Yen. Amazing reaction currently, nearly 11% drop. The lows have been 133.23. The high, when polls looked very differently, were 160 exactly at resistance. Currently at 140. Okay, so that's 2,700 pip range. I would amazing. It does not begin to describe it. Also here, the highest since 2013, and quite a shocker, wouldn't you say? So that's a big move. Oil prices fell. Of course, it's a risk-off environment. So oil prices fell. It's perceived as a bad event for the global economy. That means less demand for oil. Okay, another comment here. All eyes in India for new industry manufacturing away from China. Yeah, as far as I know, India currently is more into services and into the services sector. But yeah, I must say I'm not following India closely. So anyway, we have the Brexit. Yeah, another comment. Didn't think euro pound would move so much as both currencies suffer the Brexit. Yeah, both currencies suffer the Brexit, but the pound suffers even more. Okay, I still think it's the beginning of the end of the European Union, and we could see further falls, especially next week, especially in the euro, playing some kind of catch up. But the whole focus was on the British pound. Okay. Okay, we have some comments here. The SNB does admit, the Swiss National Bank does admit it intervened in the market to stabilize the situation of the franc. Okay, so the Swiss National Bank did not want to see a strong Swiss franc, and it did intervene. Okay. Anyway, we have European markets open, stock markets. The FTSE in London is falling 7%, DAX 8%, CAC almost 9%. I usually don't talk too much about stocks, but it's such a huge event, and everything is correlated, of course, so it's worth mentioning. As far as I know, you asked the question, Jax, good morning to you. Is Kuroda throwing darts at pictures of Cameron? I'm sure he is. Why did Cameron go for this EU vote? He wanted to get to woo some right-wing Tory voters, UKIP voters to vote for him, and it totally failed. This turned into a global disaster, I believe. And yeah, Kuroda must have a voodoo doll of David Cameron. Anyway, another question here. This is Snapshot from Futures. Let me know if it's nice. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, yeah. lots of red over there. So let's share it with everybody here. Yeah. Well, we have already markets open in Europe, so we already know that they're falling. I believe we'll have bounces from here. Same thing that we had with the pound. I believe stock markets will bounce from the lows. With big moves come violent corrections, okay? But on the other hand, we know that this is genuinely bad news. I mean, it's not... yeah, VIX jumps to 54%, yeah. Well, look what's going on here. Let's take another look at the pound before we'll talk about other, of course, related topics. Now the screen doesn't plays tricks on me. Anyway, here we go. Yeah, okay, so look what's going on. I mean, the pound within an hour moves, well, quite a lot, some 70 pips. Anyway, huge moves. We don't see these kind of things every day. This is a very special day, June 24th, or June 23rd, if you wish. We have now a speech by David Cameron. Maybe I'll put him a bit on the speaker.
We should be proud of the fact that in these islands, we trust the people with these big decisions.
Okay, this could be boring. Anyway, I'll watch out the speech by David Cameron for headlines. Let's see if he quits. He speaks, but at the moment he doesn't quit. Okay, British Prime Minister, at the moment at least, I believe he'll quit in a matter of days, if not months. It's a big failure. Comment from Jack's, bad news for who? Don't this just give back more government power to the UK? Well, In theory, yes, but I think it's disadvantageous for the UK, and specifically, it means also less trade, which could be bad for the UK, bad for Europe, bad for the whole world. It is a blow to elites, and some of them are very corrupt, and there's a democracy deficit in the European Union. Okay, so. I understand why some people voted against the EU, voted to leave on these reasons, on the lack of democracy, lack of accountability, over-regulation, things like that. But as I see it, the campaign was mostly on economics until the end of May. And there are good arguments for staying in and staying out. I think it's better to stay in. But anyway, at some point, the Leave campaign understood that it lost the argument on economics. Everybody was convinced that at least for the short term, the long term, anything can happen, but short term, it's short-term damage for the UK economy. So they moved to talk about immigration, and including that very ugly poster of Breaking Point, where you see refugees sort of on fences. And I think that move that mobilized voters, and that's very ugly, and that's why many people voted, and that's, for me, it's a shame for Britain to vote on this move for isolation, a move for less trade, but also with sort of the tipping point being immigration. And again, we have records showing that it's a net benefit for the UK, and British immigrants that live here in Spain, in Portugal, in France are taking their British pensions and relying on the healthcare systems of these countries. All these collaborations, all this trade, everybody has lots to gain, and with isolation, I don't think so. And many working class people that suffered the cuts in the NHS, the deindustrialization of the UK, instead of blaming the governments that led them there, they blame the immigrants. I mean, just look for an external enemy. It's what the Romans did. Anyway, so, well, we talk too much about politics, not enough about markets. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Varoufakis. Okay, he's the guy I really like. You mentioned him here. Yeah. Some comments here. GM, I want to trade today. Only manual close positions of Brexit and Monday trading correction. Yeah, trade with lots of care and less leverage. Small pissy island rocks the world markets. I was born there. Yeah. Obama is grinding his teeth. Many other leaders are grinding their teeth. Trade can be renegotiated. Sure. The problem is we only have uncertainty. We can have a deal. We can have the UK out of the EU with a good deal. We can have with a bad deal. We can have the economic situation deteriorating, a new government, new elections in Britain, eventually no Brexit. There's lots of uncertainty. But for people that don't know what's going on and don't follow the markets, we now have this big decision that there's Brexit coming. And if you're a company working across the channel, maybe you'll think of doing less business with the other side because Brexit is coming. If you're someone thinking of immigrating to the other side, either to Europe or to the UK, you'll think twice. Everything, I mean, there's a huge, huge impact, not only on what you see on the charts, but also here. Regarding Varoufakis, I certainly am a big fan of his. I've seen him here in Barcelona a few weeks ago. He was supporting the Remain campaign, and many people asked him, how come you support the Remain campaign after suffering everything? And he cannot stop talking about how much he suffered from the Eurogroup, describing it as sausage that you don't know what it's made of, and the lack of democracy. And he was told that elections cannot change agreements, and he wants to reform it. So why does he support Remain? Why was he on the same side with David Cameron? Now I see a comment saying the country needs fresh leadership by David Cameron. The reason is that it's better to fix the EU from inside than break it up and maybe unleash worse forces like Nigel Farage, like Marine Le Pen, like Wilders in the Netherlands, like the Golden Dawn in Greece. So yeah, it's a much more complicated way of thinking, not just saying, okay, it's much easier to put the finger on immigrants like Donald Trump. But anyway, this opinion lost anyway. So what can we do? Joe Cox incident motivated the Brexit support movers more. No, I think the Joe Cox incident was also a bit a result of, well, bad mental health, and also implications from the nasty campaigns. I don't think it did. I mean, it's shocked everybody, caused a pause in the campaign, but eventually everything went back to normal. Do you think the pound will fall further? Yes, but perhaps not today. The trend is down. Cameron resigns. Okay, breaking news. British Prime Minister David Cameron quits. He tenders his resignation, announces to the nation as markets just opened that he resigns. Now I see him going with his wife back into Downing Street number 10. Okay, big news, breaking news. Cameron quits. I cannot see if it's imminent or if it's he'll. Cameron says cabinet will meet on Monday. Let me just open the Bloomberg News for a second, because this is important news also for you.
Stability. Anna Edwards is in Westminster. Let's get some analysis. Anna, David Cameron to go, but not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Absolutely, that was the plan that he has set out there. Many people, when they woke up to see the result, was
okay. Never mind that. Anyway, David Cameron is quitting as British Prime Minister. It might take some time. I'll try to fill you up with the news if we have next 3 months. In the next 3 months, he'll be gone. Okay, there's a party meeting in the autumn. Anyway, Labour also has these kind of conventions. Anyway, yeah, comment here. The only thing that bothers me is free visa travel. We'll see what happens. Yeah, there's so many questions. Visa travel, student visa, trade deals, negotiations. Everything is now a mess. Okay, that's the big thing that could. I think it could even push the global economy into recession. Okay, pound will fall further. Draghi updating his resume, not so fast, but this could be also a fatal blow to the euro, because it's a fatal blow. I mean, the euro is one of the biggest projects of the European Union, so this could be really, really nasty. So I don't think it'll happen overnight, and I think the European Union still has a chance to repair itself, but undoubtedly this is a big blow. Okay, good bargaining chip for the UK to see positive medium term, 3 to 5 years. Yeah, mental health always blamed on high-profile deaths. Look, it takes, not everybody can murder someone else with cold blood. Okay, so maybe he was not totally mentally ill, and he was influenced by rhetoric from the UK, from overseas, but also I think, anyway, it's not the issue we're talking about. Don't get the vote is legally binding. No, it's not legally binding, but in the UK there's a strong tradition, democratic tradition. I believe that the next government will, or Cameron's government will begin the process of exiting, but you never know. Maybe these negotiations will really drag for years. Public opinion can change, and you never know. But I believe that there are good intentions by UK politicians on the Remain side, also on Labour, to respect the vote of the British people. There is really a significant democratic tradition. Otherwise, David Cameron would hold to his seat and not resign. And look, he did resign. Wow, Deutsche Bank down over 19%. Deutsche Bank is one of the weaker links in the big corporates. We know it had trouble with commodity derivatives a few months ago. There was lots of talk. I won't get into that, but I think that this is a big event that shocks markets. So yeah. So answering, let's talk about the next few days, okay? Ooh, already half an hour talking. Okay. So we talked about commodity currencies, the euro, the yen. What will happen next? You don't see my slide. Just a moment. Sorry about that. You're seeing my face for a very long time. So now you're seeing the slide. What's next? Stock markets set to crash. Well, that's already happening today. We might see again violent bounces also in stocks and also in the pound and the euro, only to fall later. After today, we could see further depression. No, we won't see such big dramas, no crashes and no violent corrections, but we might see more depression. I believe that pound dollar could perhaps slide towards 120, and euro dollar could also edge down towards 105, and we might see more intervention by the Bank of Japan. Yeah. I don't give specific trade advice to this pound to buy at current levels. I would say stay away. During the night, when we've seen the reaction, we've seen markets react only temporarily and sliding. I was on Twitter, on my live blog, saying maybe this is a sell opportunity. Each time we had that, now I'm not sure anymore. Now I think okay, the results are fully out, and we might have further falls, but we might also have corrections. What I can say is my forecast, again, not trading advice, is that we'll see next week further slow moves down for the pound, same for the euro, and attempts for the yen also to move higher, sort of a continuation of this. Also then, I don't believe it'll be a one-way street. Yeah, I'm on a roll today. Didn't get hardly any sleep yesterday, and no sleep at night. What about gold? I still say it's going below 1,000 to then rocket up. I don't follow gold that closely. Gold is seen as sort of a safe haven as well, like German bonds, US yield, US treasuries. Gold is currently moving higher, as you can see. 1316 is the current level, 5% to the upside, seen as a safe haven. It could, the enthusiasm about gold can move away, can wane, can peter out in the next few days. I see more potential for the pound and the euro to fall and the yen to rise than the price of gold to continue higher, or oil, for example, to fall. Oil prices also are 5% lower, and I see more potential there. Gold, there's so much speculation about gold, so I really don't know. I would say pound yen, look at this. Amazing, 2,700 pips in one long night, okay? Yeah, I agree. I think best to keep out of trades, let the dust settle, lick wounds over. Monday's another day. Yeah, Monday's another day, Tuesday's another day, many other days ahead. Okay, worth mentioning, just after the show at 8 GMT, we have the German IFO business climate. Irrelevant, totally irrelevant for two reasons. First of all, it's outdated. It's before we knew the results. Business sentiment will crash. Secondly, everybody's focused on the political events and ignored. Just mentioning it, usually it's a big event. If you see moves around it, it's probably not related to the release. At 12:30 GMT, we have a more important release in durable goods orders in the United States. Also here, probably minimal impact on currencies, maybe only dollar-yen, but probably not that much, because all the focus is on the referendum, the Brexit. We do not have Remain, we only have Brexit, okay? Any questions? Anyway, I see currencies, stocks continuing their falls. We might have a bad US Open as well. Let's see more charts. We have more implications, sorry. Okay, so more reactions. We talked about, well, stock markets next week. Some political action. Cameron's fate, okay, we got an answer during the show. He's going to stay for 3 more months, and that's it. He's gone afterwards. forget about any hikes by the Federal Reserve. Why? They were anyway, they were conditional on no Brexit and an improvement in jobs. It doesn't matter now. The whole world is shaken. No Fed hikes, not in July, not before the US elections, not in 2016. I don't see them even in the first half of 2017. Forget about that. The Bank of England could even cut rates. It didn't change rates since the beginning of 2009. Now it could cut rates, okay? The event could have an impact on the Spanish elections on Sunday. Spain is different. There's no right-wing party here. There is sort of more Eurosceptic left-wing party, more like Syriza. It's called Podemos. It's a very, very close call. There are four parties here. It's the second round of elections. We had elections in December. I cannot vote. I'm not a Spanish citizen. But anyway, if the left-wing Podemos comes out first, it's also another destabilizing event. Also, a hung parliament is destabilizing. And I don't have fresh opinion polls. And I don't have an opinion at the moment about how this Brexit will impact the Spanish elections. I just didn't think it would happen. Okay, comment here now. During big news like this, Brexit is new invasion starts somewhere unreported. Yeah, I talked yesterday about how the Georgia-Russia war began on the opening ceremony of the Olympics in 2008. Hopefully, we will not have any kind of war. Anyway, the durable goods orders that are released today perhaps will not have any impact today, but will feed into the general assessment of the US economy, into GDP calculations. So hopefully will not have any huge event. Now, we talked about Cameron's fate. He's gone. No Fed hikes, potential for cuts from the Bank of England. Perhaps not immediately. They'll want to see markets stabilizing. Spanish elections, more countries wanting a referendum. We already heard from Marine Le Pen in France and from Wilders in Holland. They want an exit and a Frexit, and also in Denmark a Dexit or whatever it's called. So that's what I said at the beginning of the end of the European Union, unless they come up with some bold plan to get things together. Scotland. In Scotland, most Scots voted for Remain already many, many months ago, before we even had a date for the EU referendum. In Scotland, they declared many times that they voted for staying in the UK as part of the EU. They're very Europhile. Okay, they will begin talking about another referendum for Scottish independence. And the potential for a global recession is still to be seen. We might have coordinated action by G7, G8, G20 leaders like we had in 2009, but there's much less coordination in the world these days, so I'm not sure we'll get that. And China is already slowing down. The Eurozone is fragile. This could tilt us here into recession. The US is also very slow. The economy is growing very slowly. So we won't have any real figures until a few months' time. And of course, the reaction of politicians, central bankers, of course, more importantly, will also impact this, but I would not rule out a global recession. Yeah, so these are the reactions. Okay, Jax asks if Cameron is being a pussy and not seeing this through. I wouldn't use that word, but I would say that he miscalculated this. He made a big mistake. He wanted more votes to come to his conservative party and more loyalty from his right-wing conservative Eurosceptic members. He made a big gamble. He didn't manage it correctly. I think part of the blame also falls on Labour Party, which was also a bit divided and had a more complex message. I would say maybe also a Leave campaign worked correctly. But promoting a policy that you're really not in favor of just to get votes, some internal politics, and now it could risk a global recession. It's a bad deal. There's a good reason he's resigning. Okay, it's the fair thing to do. Okay, some news here. G7 on the phone at 12 GMT. Okay, thanks for that. And I also saw that Angela Merkel is set to give a statement. Yeah, I mean, talking on the phone is nice, but let's see if they reach any agreements. For instance, global cutting of rates, injecting liquidity. And most importantly, in Germany, for example, fiscal stimulus, instead of austerity, start spending the money. When interest rates, when lending rates are so low, and in Germany for 10 years they're negative, in Japan they're negative for 10 years, it's time to flash the cash. Okay, so yeah, he'll get Cameron will get an angry call from Obama. I think also from Shinzo Abe. I think basically from everybody. If it were G20, it would be 19 leaders against one. So yeah. I think he does the right thing to quit. He led the referendum. He led the Remain campaign, for better or for worse. Failed. He's gone. As I said, significant democratic tradition in the UK. That's why I believe Brexit is real. And of course, there's a chance things will change, but I believe it is real. Okay. So what we'll do is but before we do a wrap-up for the show, we'll have a preview for next week's events. So this is the preview for the week starting on June 27th. First and foremost, the Brexit fallout. A reminder, the UK voted to stay out of the to leave the European Union. It's a huge event. Currencies moved a lot already on Friday. I expect to see more reactions, political reactions, currency reactions, stock market reactions, especially on Monday, but also afterwards. Maybe we'll have some decisions over the weekend. And it could overshadow all the other events throughout next week until July 1st. Okay, maybe towards the end of the week, we'll have a small change in mood. I believe the pound and the euro will fall, and so will dollar yen. That means a stronger yen, but with no huge reactions. Okay, sorry. Putin smiles. Yeah, maybe that's true. No specific indicators are scheduled for Monday. On Tuesday, we have the final US GDP, not important as the first release or the second one, but still of significance. And then the CB consumer confidence later on. It will not reflect Brexit. Well, US people in the US are not that focused on Brexit anyway. Wednesday, we have inflation figures from the ECB. This could serve as an excuse for more stimulus, as if Brexit is not enough. Okay, Thursday, we have a busy day. UK final GDP for the first quarter may be irrelevant. Also, the second quarter may be irrelevant because of the Brexit. Canadian GDP more relevant for the Canadian dollar. Of course, the ECB's meeting minutes. In theory, these are minutes from the meeting back in early June, but they could use the document to convey some messages about future monetary policy. Okay, and on Friday, it's the first day of the month that we don't have the non-farm payrolls. It'll wait another week. So we have Chinese PMIs, sort of another refocusing on the global economy, not only on Brexit, and the US ISM manufacturing PMI, the first hint for the non-farm payrolls, 1 week away. Okay, so that's the preview for next week's events. Now I'll do the wrap-up for today. Before that, questions here. Yeah, I'm back. Have a great weekend. No, not doing a show on Monday. We're doing a different format from next week. I'll keep you up to date. FX Street will keep you up to date. Anyway, let's do the wrap-up for today. So this is the wrap-up for Brexit Day, June 24th. The British people have decided within the majority of 52 to 48 to leave the European Union. That is a huge event. Okay, it began with optimism for the Remain camp. The pound dollar reached 150, but when real results began trickling, we had to fall all the way to 132.30. A huge move, which we do not see these kind of moves every day. Nearly even 1,800 pips. Okay, now we're seeing a big bounce worth over 500 pips. A huge move, not priced in by the markets. There were many opportunities to jump in. Okay, so that's a huge move over there. Let's talk about other currencies. Euro dollar followed suit, also fell all the way to 109.10, now bouncing back up, but all in all much lower on the day. Dollar yen, here we had a violent move to 98.80, the lowest since 2013. And then perhaps intervention by the Bank of Japan sent it back above 100. Okay, now almost 103. Big bounce at the moment. Dollar CAD, here we have more limited moves, but also weaker commodity currencies against the US dollar, and even weaker, of course, against the yen. Currently 130, 130 to 130.80 is the range, 129.10 is support. Aussie dollar had a big fall from resistance 76.40 all the way to 73, now back above 74. Kiwi dollar at 70.50, struggling with a line that used to be a double bottom, also hit hard 2.5% by the pound. I must say again about the pound, even now after this big recovery, it's over 7% drop, a rare event. At the low levels, we reached the lowest levels since 1985, 31 years. Okay, huge moves in markets. What else do we need to know in this wrap-up to sum up things? More intervention by the Bank of Japan could be seen. They said conditions are rough. The S&B at the beginning said no comment, but during the show we learned that they did intervene. Euro dollar so far, only 40% of the move is copied in euro dollar. The move, I mean, in pound dollar. ECB at the moment does not intend to intervene. What's up next for next week and in general? The next reactions for Brexit, I believe more crashes, but also violent corrections. As we're seeing actually now, this kind of violent corrections, we can see further high volatility today. Next week, I believe we'll have lower volatility, but the news is still bad for markets. More losses for the pound, more for the euro, more strengthening for the yen. Okay, and watch out for more political reactions. So maybe these elections in Spain are more important than the economic indicators today. Let's see if we have another hung parliament, which is bad news for markets, or a victory for the somewhat Eurosceptic Podemos party. Potential for cuts by the Bank of Japan, potential for G7 coordination. I remain a bit skeptical, but you never know. It's really a huge event. And watch out for more political implications. Watch out for warnings about global recession, fear that already existed, but this is really a shocker, a big blow. So all in all, wrapping up the wrap-up, it's been a huge night. It's a big surprise, not what markets had expected. Pound dollar crashed, the euro fell, other currencies fell, the yen received safe haven flows. And now we're seeing a huge correction. As we speak, it's already 600 pip correction. We've hardly seen any days with 600 pip moves normally, and today it's only the correction, okay? And all in all, the pound fell from the highs double that amount, okay? Anyway, very excited. I mean, not happy with the result, but very excited with what's going on in markets, okay? So thank you very much, everybody, for coming to the show, for the great questions. For your comments. It provided also great information. Hope everybody's trading very safely. Limit your leverage. Brokers are also trying to help themselves out, help you out also, not to collapse. That's it. Okay, so that's it for today. See you next week. Thank you and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.